Charles Mills Manson, November 12, 1934, November 19, 2017, remains one of the most infamous figures in American criminal history. Known as the leader of the Manson Family, a California-based cult, Manson orchestrated a series of murders in 1969 that shocked the world with their brutality. Beyond the crimes that defined him, his life reflects a long history of instability, manipulation, and criminal activity intertwined with failed ambitions and a skewed worldview. This video explores Manson's life, the crimes he inspired, his trial, and his enduring impact on society and culture. Charles Manson was born Charles Mills Maddox on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati, Ohio, to 16-year-old Kathleen Maddox. His biological father, Colonel Walker Henderson Scott Sr., abandoned the family before Manson was born, leaving Kathleen to marry laborer William Eugene Manson. Despite the marriage ending in divorce in 1937, Charles retained the last name of his adoptive father. Kathleen Maddox's life was marked by instability. She frequently left young Charles with babysitters while she engaged in drinking sprees. By 1939, after being convicted of robbery, she was sent to prison, forcing Manson to live with relatives. Her eventual release in 1942 marked a brief period of happiness for Charles, but this stability quickly dissolved due to Kathleen's continued legal troubles and alcoholism. From an early age, Manson demonstrated behavioral issues. By age 9, he committed his first significant offense by setting his school on fire. These behaviors escalated, leading to time in juvenile institutions. Placed in the Gibault School for Boys in Indiana at age 13, he experienced physical abuse, which he later claimed shaped his self-defense approach to life. His frequent runaways and petty crimes led to a cycle of incarceration that persisted throughout his youth and well into adulthood. Manson's entry into crime escalated as he grew older. At 13, he was caught robbing a grocery store and later stealing cars to support himself. A series of arrests during his teenage years resulted in his incarceration at various reform schools, where he experienced violence and frequently escaped. These early years also shaped Manson's tactics for manipulation and survival, which he later developed into what he called the insane game, to ward off aggressors by acting unpredictably. Between 1951 and 1967, Manson was incarcerated multiple times for offenses ranging from car theft to forgery and pimping. These stints placed him under the influence of hardened criminals, and he honed skills such as playing the guitar and understanding how to manipulate others. Notably, during a prison sentence at McNeil Island, he became interested in Scientology and later used its principles. Combined with ideas from books like Stranger in a Strange Land and Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, to craft his own philosophy. Released from prison in March 1967, Manson moved to San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury during the height of the counterculture movement. There, he began collecting followers, mainly young, emotionally vulnerable women, by blending messages of free love with apocalyptic overtones. Manson promised his followers enlightenment and salvation from societal oppression, cultivating absolute loyalty. The group eventually moved to the Spahn Ranch, a rundown former film set outside Los Angeles. Manson further cemented his authority through manipulative psychological practices, including regular LSD use and sexual rituals. At Spahn Ranch, Manson introduced the concept of Helter Skelter, borrowing the term from a song by the Beatles. He believed the lyrics foretold an impending race war, in which Manson and his family would emerge as leaders, guiding society from the ashes. Manson harbored aspirations of becoming a musician and forged connections with figures in the Los Angeles music scene. He befriended Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, leading to introductions to producer Terry Melcher. Wilson even recorded Manson's song Cease to Exist under the title Never Learn Not to Love, but Manson was neither credited nor paid royalties. Denied the record deal he sought from Melcher, Manson felt spurned by the industry, contributing to his growing paranoia and resentment towards societal elites. Manson's fixation on triggering the racial apocalypse reached its peak in August 1969. He ordered his followers to carry out brutal murders to incite chaos. On August 8th and 9th, Manson family members entered the Beverly Hills home of actress Sharon Tate and her husband, Roman Polanski. Tate, then 8.5 months pregnant, was slain alongside Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Stephen Parent. Cryptic messages like the word pig were scrawled in blood at the crime scene, further disturbing investigators. The following night, on Manson's orders, his followers targeted Leno and Rosemary LaBianca in their Los Feliz home. The pair were tied up, tortured, and killed, with additional cryptic phrases written in their blood. These murders sent shockwaves across the nation, with the crimes often considered the symbolic end of the 1960s counterculture. The trial of Charles Manson and his followers began in 1970 and quickly became one of the most sensationalized legal cases in history. Manson's erratic courtroom behavior, including carving an X into his forehead, later modified into a swastika, dominated headlines. Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi argued that Manson controlled the family and orchestrated the murders, successfully portraying him as a manipulative figure who wielded psychological influence rather than directly committing the atrocities. Manson and several family members were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. Originally sentenced to death, their sentences were commuted to life imprisonment when California abolished the death penalty in 1972. Manson spent the remainder of his life in prison, showing no remorse for the crimes. While incarcerated, he maintained a cult following on the fringes of society, influencing individuals like Lynette "Squeaky" Fromm, who attempted to assassinate President Gerald Ford in 1975. Manson also gave a series of bizarre interviews to media outlets, further fueling his notoriety. His death in 2017 at the age of 83 from colon cancer brought renewed attention to his legacy. Manson's influence on pop culture remains undeniable. Films, books, and songs continue to reference his life and crimes, serving as a chilling reminder of the dangers of charismatic manipulation. Manson's story is a complex narrative about counterculture gone wrong. His actions revealed the extreme vulnerability of individuals to cult-like influence and manipulation. The Manson family murders also marked a cultural turning point, shattering the optimistic ideals of the 1960s and exposing the darker undercurrents of social upheaval. For criminologists, Manson's case offers insight into the psychology of control, coercion, and groupthink, while his enduring cultural presence underscores society's fascination with the intersection of charisma, crime, and tragedy. Charles Manson remains a grim figure whose story continues to captivate, not for his life's aspirations, but for the terror and tragedy his ideology inflicted upon the world. His name symbolizes both human vulnerability and the capacity for untold manipulation, leaving a cautionary tale for future generations.